Hello, everybody. So I have a new guest here, Alaya.
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember your name because Bruno, he told me your name is Himalaya, like Alaya, just like saying Himalaya, but just Alaya.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that your given name or?
No.
No, you took this name?
After the bath.
After
Yes.
the bath. Okay. After the bath. Okay. I thought so.
Yes.
Yeah. So today we're gonna have and I'm so excited about this conversation we're about to have because it's all about my favorite topic, living in the heart and how to enter the heart and staying in the heart, basically, and why is it important, etc. So welcome to the live event.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you so much for coming here and
really
spending your time. So Alaya, she lives 5 minutes walk from here. We have a lot of interesting people in this neighborhood. It's crazy.
I know.
Yeah. And you guys just moved in.
Yes, about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we met and instantly we just clicked and we had amazing conversations. And I was like, we need to have this on the live event. So now here you are. So hopefully we're going to fly away in our dreams and imaginations today.
Great.
So let's, because this is the first time people meet you, could you talk a little bit about yourself, your life, and how you ended up where you are now? And just begin from the beginning and the whole journey.
Oh my goodness. Okay, start from the beginning.
Start from the beginning, yeah.
Okay, the beginning of the story.
The beginning of the story.
This is my story.
Yeah,
okay.
of Alaya.
My story was my parents married, and it was a terrible match, and my mother was forced to get married because of a pregnancy, and
in United States, right?
In the United States, yes, in California, and my mother wasn't in love with my father, so she was having affairs with other men. And when I was 3 years old, my father found out and tried to kill her. But her screams brought the neighbors and she was saved. And there was a divorce and a remarriage. And my father was with this incredible, beautiful, loving heart, but he fell in love with the woman next door. And she decided that she didn't want to leave her husband and her 3 children.
Okay.
And my father was devastated, and he shot her, and he killed himself.
Did she die too?
She didn't die, but she never walked again. She was paralyzed.
Oh,
and the
wow.
bullet was in the back of her neck.
Oh, wow.
So this was extremely hard for me.
Yeah.
And I remember that night.
How old were you back then?
I was 12 years old at that time.
Okay, so conscious enough to know that this is really bad.
This was really bad.
Yeah.
And I felt like I evaporated that night. I could feel myself disappear, and I felt like I disengaged from my soul. And I remember writing in my diary, if my father did that, then who am I? My father did that, then who am I?
Yeah.
And it was just something I couldn't bear.
Yeah.
And my stepmother, who I loved so much, had just told me that my greatest gift was my virginity. And that if I didn't have my virginity, nobody would love me. And I would just be a whore on the streets.
Wow.
And of course, 2 months later, I was raped by 2 drug addicts.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
how old were you there?
I was still 12. It was just before my 13th birthday.
Wow. That's heavy.
So at that point, if I had a hope or a dream left connected to, it was completely severed. And I fell into a state of just total despair. And I lived that for many, many years until I was 28.
28, okay.
28 years old. So if you could imagine, I could spare that story. But when I was 28 years old, I had come
wait a minute, just the life from 12 to 28.
Yes.
How was it? Can you describe a little bit?
It was a feeling like I had no value, that I had no worth, that I had no right to say no to anyone. I had no right to protect my sexuality, my dignity. But in that, Josh, no matter what, I would say to myself, they can take my dignity, they can take my hopes and my dreams, but they'll never get my heart.
Ah, beautiful.
So
already back then, there was something there.
Always something there.
This knowledge.
Yes. So I carried that suffering to when I was 28, and I could see that I was at a threshold of death, and I really thought that I was going to be leaving this world. And
Why did you think that you're going to die?
well, it was a lot of darkness around me, and it was a spiritual darkness that had. It's a big story. I'd rather stay on target. Believe me, it was life or death.
Okay.
And I didn't have the resources to deal with that. And I drove to Venice Beach one morning, and I walked out onto the sand, and I looked out onto the sky, and it was like, oh, it was so dark. A storm was coming in and tears were coming. I said, this is it. There's no way that I can protect myself. I don't have the strength or the resources to live. And I thought, oh, I'm going to die. And I heard this voice inside say, no, you are not going to die. You will live. And it was shocking. And I listened, and what I thought, well,
was it your own voice or another voice?
I'm not so sure.
Okay.
Perhaps the voice of my soul.
Yeah, your higher self.
Yes. And I said, okay, but how will I do this? And I remembered that a friend had said, you really should pray. You really need to pray. And I'd say, how can I pray if I don't believe in anything?
Okay.
And he said, use the word if. And I recalled this great wisdom that he gave me. And I said, okay, if there is a divine universe, then I am speaking to you. I'm asking you for help. Please, I'm asking for help, and I'll do anything. Please just don't make me be a preacher. Amen.
Please don't make me a preacher. There was some conditions here. That was hilarious.
True.
Okay.
And so things like in the universe, like fast, like everything became animated. And I went home, and I was in a woman called that I hadn't heard from in 3 years. And she connected me to a woman who told me this: the darkness is not inside you, but it is all around you, and you are going to be okay.
Yeah.
And you are going to go to the store and buy kosher salts, 2 white candles. You are going to find a Bible, and you are going to say this prayer to Jesus Christ. This was a stretch. And, and I wrote down on a paper this prayer that she told me to do. I got everything I needed and the white washcloth, and I took it to the bath. And I remember just like crying, and then putting the salt around the outside of the bathtub, and crying and putting the salt inside and asking for guidance. And when I got into the bathtub, I started to read this prayer and to wash my body with this white washcloth with the candles lit. And at the very end, I realized that I hadn't washed the top of my head. And I took this washcloth and I put it over the top of my head. My head was back, and there was a light that shot through me and knocked me to the back of the bathtub with a force. And I laid there, Josh.
How was the light coming, from below and up, or from up and down?
From below up.
Okay.
Out the top of my head, I would say.
Yeah.
And I was laying there, and I remember the sound and the feeling of the water, doing this.
Yeah.
And I laid there till it was still. And I laid there for a long time, and then I knew it was time to stand up. And when I stood up, I realized that the girl that had gone into the bath was not the same girl that got out of the bath.
Oh, wow.
And I knew with all my heart and all my soul that I did have a soul.
Yeah.
That I was connected. And the message that was given to me was, turn off your TV, get rid of it. Stop listening to music with words. Get rid of the newspaper and meditate. Know how to listen, for it's in the listening that you will have the guidance and the understanding and the steps of knowing what to do to heal yourself.
Wow.
So still today, when I get up at 5 or 5:15 in the morning, I am so excited to get up and to fulfill my promise and to receive the next little piece of information that I'm going to get.
Yeah. Wow. And so after that event at age 28, what did you do with your life then?
Oh my goodness, I learned how to eat right and healthy, and I stopped drinking and I stopped partying so much. I still had fun, and I was exercising and biking, and all of a sudden it's like the world was so beautiful. I could feel everything. I was like I was a part of something again.
Okay.
And I was right on the ocean, and I was just swimming all the time in the ocean.
And what about friends? Did you change
Oh
many
my
friends?
goodness. It was like when I changed that frequency of being, I never saw any of the people that I had known ever again.
Really? They just didn't show up?
They disappeared. That the night that
Isn't that amazing? So you have people in your life on a steady basis.
Yes.
You have an internal spiritual experience, and they just don't show up anymore.
They were gone. And I left the house where I had been, where there was another friend that I was sharing the house with. And I just left with what I had. And I went to the ocean, and I was walking and I had nothing. And I'm going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And there was this man that came up, and he started to talk to me. And I told him my situation, that I had just left a house and my life, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And the sun was setting, and I didn't know where I was going to sleep. And he said, I'm an airline pilot, and I'm leaving tomorrow on a trip for 2 weeks. Take my house.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And I had 2 weeks. I found a job within two days. And when I was there, I had the postman find me my little home just in time the day before this man came back. And I moved in a little apartment in Manhattan Beach on the beach.
Wow. And what was the job you got?
I was secretary.
Secretary.
I'm a very bad secretary. I promise you, I don't have a linear mind.
I know how your mind is working, and I would definitely not hire you.
If I could say, I have been fired from every single job I've ever had being secretary.
Yeah.
Or a waitress.
Yeah, I can
It's
imagine.
like it doesn't work.
I can imagine.
My poor husband.
Yeah, yeah. How long ago did you meet Bruno?
I met him 29 years ago.
Okay, how did you meet him?
Oh my goodness. I had been living in Israel and for 4 years. And
By the way, just so you know, Bruno, he's 59 years old.
60 now.
60. He's 60 years old. He's doing mixed martial arts with me in the dojo right down here. He comes for training, and he is in better shape than I am. He's just going for it, and he's really good at what he's doing. It's totally awesome. So we're making a lot of jokes, and he's also a body worker, osteopath.
Well, he's an osteopath, and he was trained as an MD, but he works as an osteopath, hands-on.
So he's a medical doctor?
Yes, he is.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Yes.
even know that.
He just let that go.
Yeah.
It gave him nothing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they don't learn anything there, but anyway, yeah. So wait a minute. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I just wanted people to know
Yes.
who Bruno is.
My
But so you
beautiful
met
husband.
29 years ago. Where did you meet?
We met, well, I have to tell you, I was in Israel, and I was breaking up with this man, but we tried to keep our relationship together. I'd been with him for a couple of years. And we went on a trip. We were in India, and he had a stroke. And the stroke was because of his heart, and his heart was giving out. So we flew to Paris, which is where Bruno was, to save his life. He needed open heart surgery. So I was in Paris with this man, and I spent, almost a year keeping him alive with great honor and respect for who he is and my love for him. But we were not a match, and it was very, very clear that we needed to separate.
Okay.
And it was actually Alan that had invited him to our house. And he was the reason that I met Bruno.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I knew Bruno, the minute I looked into his eyes, he was like,
That's it.
my whole life dissolved. This was my beginning.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yes.
And so now, we have done some sessions together. One session we did together. Well, actually, two sessions together with because what your job is now, what you're doing now is you're healing people's traumas
Yes.
so they can enter their hearts.
Yes.
Because the only thing that stands in the way for entering our hearts is our traumas.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. So how did you end up starting to work with this and doing it? Do these things?
Oh my goodness. Well, the first thing that I really understood is that our hearts are so powerful. And that as long as we're trying to heal with our minds and to figure things out, all we can do is reorganize the story, which still continues to lock us in place.
So from one bad story to just a slightly better story, but
Yes.
it's still a story.
Right. It's still a story.
Yeah.
And I know that after doing this work for 25 years, when we receive a deep and true healing, it's because we have found the compassion in our hearts to love the ones that we have held responsible for our pain and our demise.
Okay, that makes sense. Somebody's asking, what is your name?
My name is Alaya Chikly.
Alaya Chikly. Okay. So guys, you can start writing down questions, big letters with all questions, and then I'll pick them up as we go along. Okay. How long time have you done these heart therapy sessions?
I've been teaching for 25 years. And of course, it just keeps evolving, Josh.
Yeah.
You know, like before COVID, I was doing a particular kind of work, and now my work has deepened so much.
Yeah.
And I feel so gifted that I was able to share what I'm doing now with you, and that you understand that and receive that. You are amazing. I just love you.
Likewise. Thank you. So, what would you say people listening here, what would be how would you approach this? How should people approach if they feel that they are too mental? And by the way, why should we even enter our hearts?
Well, the first thing that I always do with people is that sometimes people don't even realize that they're in their minds and they're not in their hearts.
Yeah.
And what I know is when we're in our hearts, there's a frequency that we hold, that we share a field of love.
Yes.
That this is what was happening here,
Yeah.
that we're open and relaxed and loving each other, right?
Yes, yes.
And I extend that to everyone here.
Yes.
But watch what happens. If I start coming out of my heart and I start moving up into my mind, I'm going to start going into a different channel, and all of a sudden I'm going to be in this frequency, which is completely different.
Yeah.
Now, if we start to try to heal something and look at a trauma from this frequency in the mind channel, you can't do it. You
can maybe find the story, but you can't heal it.
No, you can't heal it.
Yeah.
And this is always interesting, because when we're up in our heads, if you ask your mind a question like, what can we do? There's a couple that I like to ask. What do you need in the world in order to be safe? And really ask your mind.
Uh-huh.
Your mind will start to give you information.
More money.
More money, more locks, more, EMF protection. It's all of these things. And the mind really believes it.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a lot of power to direct us to fulfill those needs
Mm-hmm.
and those beliefs, right? Or if you ask your mind, what is water?
Yeah, that's a good question. My mind doesn't have H2O, but
Right.
it's kind of like, anyway,
It would be scientific.
Yeah.
H2O molecules, this, whatever it is, it's
Yeah.
a body of water, it's a lake, it's an ocean, it's something we drink.
Yeah.
But when you start to actually feel that, there's no emotion there. It's all mind. You're disconnected from all your senses, your inner feeling, your inner vision, your inner hearing.
Yeah.
So how much information, it's like we're living in this artificial, closed, empty, non-feeling space if we're always in our heads, and we can never truly connect.
Yeah. So how do you know if you're living in your mind?
So you can work with contrast.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask your heart, what does it need in order to be safe?
The answer is simple. It's love.
It's love.
Mm-hmm.
So this is so important, because if you give over your process to your heart, it's going to guide you to be able to find the love that you need and always wanted, right? So it's going to take you there. If you ask your mind to guide your process, it's going to protect you, isolate you, give you safety within this little tiny box of information.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is based on the notion of separation.
Right. Right. So you can't truly heal unless you're here.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. If you ask what water is, if you really meditate on it, it's this planetary body of water and life and movement, memory, molecules, life-giving, touching, reaching. You know, it's so sensual. It's so beautiful.
It's alive.
It's alive.
Yeah, and it's teaching us about unity.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the huge difference in when we do something, when we heal from our hearts.
Yeah.
It will just give us the depths that we need to touch into in order to heal.
So how do we, let's say a person is very mental and they would like to enter their hearts and heal these traumas they have. How do they enter their hearts? How do you make that journey?
Just by giving and providing, first of all, a space of trust and safety. Because if someone has never felt what it is to be safe, there's a little bit more resistance because it's not in their normal set of experiences, right? So in holding that space and doing these little exercises about feeling how magnificent the heart is and how it opens us up to really being a part of something, we take step by step. And perhaps sometimes we have to look at the trauma when they made a decision that it was too difficult or too dangerous to be in their hearts. So we can start with that. And it's possible. We all can do it.
And so if somebody, so there's a lot of people out here who doesn't have access to you. And so if they sit alone at home, how would they go about it in the beginning?
Oh my goodness, sometimes we need a little bit of guidance.
Yeah.
I would definitely start with this exercise.
Okay.
And look at the contrast and see what our mind is offering and what our hearts are offering. And eventually there's an integration, you know, that we can, yeah, I won't go further with that because I was.
I don't get that.
I think it's just really important to start experiencing what the vision of our hearts.
Yeah.
And being in sensation.
So basically, the way I see it is to ask the right questions. Like you just said, asking the heart, what is water? Or asking the mind, what is water? And make these, so you create this contrast and you see the difference and you start recognizing that other world, how that responds and interacts and where it's coming from.
Yes.
Because I mean, the biggest difference I see is like the heart is all unity and the mind is all separation. And so the answers are changing because of that.
Yes.
And so you could go in and start feeling like, and even if you can't feel, you can imagine how it would feel.
Yes.
And my teacher, he always said, fake it till you make it. And so just you know, act like you're in your heart. And then at one point it becomes second nature and it actually starts happening.
Yes. One of the things that I've done that I really so much love doing, Josh, is holding my heart and understanding and knowing that it's absolutely conscious. So that when I put my hand on our heart, we can all do that. And we just breathe and say to our hearts, I see you. I'm here. I love you. I love you. And you just might feel your heart is actually hearing your words and feeling your love. And it's responding. And we can connect to everything. Everything is conscious. And if you feel your heart, you can also imagine the arteries and the veins and the capillaries as an integral part of your heart that extends physically into every part of your body. And when you just feel this love, these vibrations are sent throughout your body and the rhythms of your heart respond. And what I love to feel is in the bottom of our feet, in the arch. It's so sensitive. And if you feel into this arch, you can feel the beating of your heart. And the same in your hands. In the hollow of your hands, you can feel the beating of your heart. And feel the fullness of the pulse. And what your heart feels like, her rhythms of love. And if you just allow your body to receive the love, the pulse, it fills us. I love you, my heart. I thank you. And if you bring another quality, say compassion, and if you ask your heart to show you compassion, the frequencies, the energy, the light of compassion, you can bring that also through your heart, your arteries, and your veins, your capillaries. And your full body gets to receive the flow of compassion. And you might even notice, I know this is subtle, that there's a slight difference in the pulsation. And just feel the pure joy, compassion. And this is when we can sink deeper into our hearts. We can sink deep into our hearts. And in our hearts, there's this deep inner dimension, our spiritual heart. That brings in another quality. The interdimensional spaces of our heart. And we can let our bodies receive that as well. The depths of our hearts. And then we can learn the magnificence of our hearts by just being aware and feeling that our hearts are always aware of every feeling, of every thought we have. And when we begin to honor our hearts in such a deep level, then we start to work together with our hearts consciously. And this is beautiful too, Josh. From this place, we have the power for everyone that's looking and being with us right now. Our hearts can connect. We can create a unified field together, a field of safety and such love. And this is the gift that we have for each other. And we can honor each heart that's here. And we can feel each other on this level. And we can send love to each other on this deep level. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Beautiful. Did you all feel this? You feel the connection? The heart space? Yes, good. Yeah, a lot of people saying yes. Beautiful indeed, brought tears to my eyes. Another one also tears. So people are feeling it. This is awesome.
So we're connected.
We're all connected. We're sitting inside each other's hearts right now.
Yes.
And I could go on a very mental, male, scientific rant right now of why that is true. I can prove this scientifically, but let's not go there today.
Thank you.
But I'm fascinated with all the aspects of this, like the logical, mental, scientific, and then also the spiritual, intuitive, and symbol. I think there's room for all of it.
Yes, there is.
We can explore. It's kind of like looking at the diamond with all these facets. Right?
Yes.
We're just playing around, looking at the same thing, but in a million different ways.
Yes, it's kind of like the marriage of the male and the female, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And the honoring of both.
Yeah, and that's why I love having you here, because you're bringing in that feminine approach to this. Because a lot of times I'm sitting here being the male talking about the heart. So yeah, that was really missing in these live events here. So thank you so much. You were needed.
We need each other.
Yeah, we need each other.
Totally, we need each
Yeah.
other. And this is so clear and evident to me.
Yeah, it's it's funny. I see these there's all these people having arguments about men against women and women against men. All this stuff going on right now, and all these relationship problems, and why people are feeling the other side is bad, and all these things. And I remember just a few days ago, I was just standing having a shower, and I was thinking, a long time ago, because of the situation we were living in, we were dependent on each other, like for survival. Like the man had to take care of the woman, otherwise he's not going to have a family. The woman has to take care of the man, otherwise she's not going to have a family. And it was kind of like survival based. But there was also beauty in it, in the sense of there's a sacrifice, there's a surrendering, there's a sacrifice, but it's a beautiful form of surrender, a beautiful sacrifice for something bigger than you. Like you're becoming part of something bigger. And I feel that we're lost that today in today's world, because everybody has enough in themselves, and we don't need each other anymore like that. And because of that, all these more deeper sacred aspects are falling into the background in relationships. And so now the conversation has changed from we need each other to I don't really need you. Why should I be with you? Or I will only be with you if you give me something good out of it, if I get something out of it. So it's coming from this me state of consciousness instead of this transcendent, more of just being part of a whole consciousness.
Yes. Recently, the marriage of the male and the female within has been a huge focus for me, and a deep learning about the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to go there.
Oh, I would love to. Let's talk about it.
It'll take a little bit because
to
go step
for
into
it.
this.
We have time.
It starts with COVID, and I shared a little bit about this when COVID came, and I started to see how people were suffering so much in their minds. And I myself, when the borders closed, and
in the United States, you freaked out.
I totally freaked out. I mean, I more than freaked out. I started to get gray on my temples. I mean, it was like something like I was like lost in terror. And this is when, like when I heard about, the WHO claiming, that we had to isolate ourselves and go home and not travel. And anyways, I went home, was cooking, and I cut myself, and then I would burn myself, and I would fall down and my knees are bleeding. And then I got bit by a dog, and
wow,
I thought something unconscious is trying to come up and be seen, because when it's not conscious, I just keep hurting myself. It's like bam, bam, bam. So I took this to meditation, and it took me back to my past life in Germany, in Berlin, where I was a Jew, in the concentration camps. And I looked at that, and I looked at, because I meditate, so for so many years, I've had time to look at a few things.
Yes.
And I could see that in my feminine past lives, I usually show up as a victim, a war victim, and men hurting me, killing me, raping me, whatever. And there was also another theme about motherhood, being disconnected from my children and losing my connection to motherhood. And this suffering, this was my feminine. And on my masculine, I just kept coming in as a warrior, a killer, like revered because I'm so good at taking life. I'm so good at strategies that we can take another country or a village, whatever that is. And this was like unbelievable to me, that now is the time that I need to look at this, really pay attention to it. So I could see that our souls, we choose, we either become female or male. And it seemed like I chose to be feminine more often because it seemed more comfortable that I would be a victim.
Yeah.
Right. Than to be the warrior and to take life.
Yeah.
But as a woman in my lives, I always judged the men, which is my own male.
Yeah.
And I always saw men as violent and cruel and, the conqueror, the rapist.
Yeah.
So I kept creating that. I kept calling the male forth to create the male-female reality that's in my own consciousness.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, this is really big.
Yeah.
This is really, really big. So here I am in my own life. This was so important for me, Josh. I looked at my father, who I always judged because he was so violent, and he was always the killing of a woman,
Yeah.
the violation of a woman.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's big. Yeah.
Is that big?
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I thought, oh my gosh, this is not about me judging my father. This is about me judging me.
Yeah.
I am the one and he is my mirror and nothing else.
Yeah.
And when I looked at my mother, who wasn't able to love me, she was the one holding the mirror of my broken motherhood that couldn't love her children any longer because there was too much pain.
Wow.
And also the receiving the violence of a man in my past lives, like in the Jewish past life in Berlin. I looked at this, Josh, it's like totally set me free. I thought, oh my gosh, never, ever, ever will I ever blame again, because all life is doing so clearly is mirroring for me, which I have not been able to face within myself.
Yes.
And I cried with gratitude. I cried for the love of my father. I cried for the love of my mother. Oh gosh, it was just like such a liberation, such a liberation.
And just seeing it was the healing, right?
Was the healing.
The healing was to see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And what was even more exciting for me is when I looked at my own femininity in my life, you know, and I looked at, you know, being raped by the guys and, you know, like all the la, 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 la. When I looked at that, I saw my feminine and I could see how I had judged men in my life, and my own male was not even existence in my consciousness, that I had buried him and told him he was not allowed to be in my life because he was unworthy. He was the murderer, right?
He's a raper. And
He's the raper. Yes. And that was another part that I'm going, oh my gosh, what have I done to my male?
Yeah.
He can never be anything else. He can never heal unless I turn to him and bring him home to my heart.
Yeah.
And when I looked to my male and I saw his pain and I saw his suffering, and man, I can be mean. You know, the judgment that I had locked, that I could never set him free. But in my process, I just, wow, I have an incredible male. When he's free and he knows he's loved and he knows he's pure, for the first time, Josh, I could recognize the absolute total beauty of the male consciousness, my heart. And then when that is full, connecting to the divine male, to the divine qualities.
Male,
holy smokes.
Yeah.
And then for the feminine, and there's the marriage.
Yeah, there's the marriage. We are so beautiful.
Yes.
Like, we are so beautiful. It's amazing. We are so beautiful. The divine masculine and divine feminine, so beautiful. And all we need to do is to heal those traumas. Yes. Stop hurting each other.
Yes.
Back and forward.
And
also inside of us.
Stop blaming. Yes.
Stop blaming. And it's interesting because I have had those. For example, I can give you an example. Like in my life, like when I grew up, there was a time in my life when I was introduced to all these the Vedic teachings, etc. And they have different kinds of mother divines, and so they have like many female goddesses in with the various qualities, etc. And there was one time I was just sitting in a meditation, and I had these pictures on my walls with all these Hindu gods and all stuff. Back then I was super involved with the yogic approach and stuff. And I was sitting in this meditation, I looked up at this image, and then suddenly, for the first time, I could see the feminine for what it is. Like, it was just for a moment, I was like, and I was floored. I was just like, I was completely in awe how beautiful the mother divine, the feminine is. And And I remember clearly having this strong feeling that she loves me. She totally loves me. And it's like I'm her child. And no matter what I do, she will love me. Like no matter what, she just loves me. This unconditional love. And so since that experience, I always had this feeling that like that the feminine just loves me no matter what, like completely.
That's why you have such a beautiful wife.
Yes, I know. Actually,
Yes.
right after
Yes.
I had that experience, I met Irina.
I'm sure.
I did.
You would have never met her without holding that piece
No.
of wisdom.
Yes.
You would not have met her.
When I saw her the first time,
You
I
did.
saw her. I saw that.
Yes.
I was just like, there it is. That's the mother divine, the mother goddess, whatever you want to call it, in a physical body.
Yes.
And I was just consumed by her. Like there was nothing else. That was the first time because we met on a silence retreat with Ravi Shankar, our teacher, and that was the first time in my life I didn't listen to what he was saying. He was talking on the stage. I didn't care. I was just looking at her like I was just totally like consumed. Like yeah, it was funny because I realized that like I knew I would not have been able to see her like that if I hadn't had that experience. If didn't have that
I
opening.
believe that's so strong in my heart.
Yeah. So
there would have been no resonation.
No way. No way.
To pull her in.
Yeah.
You did good.
And the cool thing is when I saw that in her, all kinds of positive qualities came out in me.
Yes.
So by me seeing the beauty came out of me. Yes. So she saw me too, right? Yes. She saw this divine masculine.
That could see the feminine.
Yeah, exactly. So once we start seeing each other, we are raising each other up. Yes. We are lifting each other up. Yes. And this is so interesting also with Tantra yoga. People, they talk about like the sexual Tantra yoga and all that stuff. But actually, the white school, the highest form of Tantra, is when you're integrating the male and the feminine within yourself. So we have the Kundalini moving up, the masculine and the feminine Kundalini. Yes. And a sign of a spiritual blossoming is that regardless of what body you have, the male and the feminine is equally integrated within that body, expressing itself. So you can be extremely masculine, you can also be extremely feminine in the same body. Yes. That's a sign of integration. Yes. Of awakening. That's so beautiful. It is. And another thing that I realized when I looked out onto the world, and we look at the feminine and the masculine, right? From the beginning of time, we have always had war, and we have always had slavery, except for Persia, in our being, our human experience. Yeah. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the mirror of the war that we hold inside. And as long as we have that war within us, as long as we have the judgment, we will always see the mirror and experience that pain and grief and sorrow in war and slavery. I fully agree. The external world is just an expression of our internal reality. And we can change it, Josh. We can change, and it takes, how long time does it take to heal? Oh, on a clock, how long time does it take to heal? In a moment's notice. Exactly. Yes. And I'll tell you, since COVID and since I've understood these things, the healing is so much quicker. Yeah. We do not have time. And this has been my prayer. We do not have time. How do we get there? How do we understand the depths and the power of who we are so that we can change this? Yeah. And what I'm seeing is like in my classes, men, like particularly a man that had the most horrific relationships, women annihilating him, demoralizing him, cheating him, taking from him. He could see the story inside of himself. Yeah. And when he healed his feminine, he met this woman within 2 weeks again, yeah. And he is with her, and it's like
he has the most incredible, loving woman you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
When she hugs me, I just become a love puddle on the ground. It's like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
This is our potential.
Yeah, it is.
And all we have to do is stop thinking it's out there.
Yeah. Yeah,
This
it starts here. Like it was so obvious to me that this internal process I had created that relationship that I now am in. Like you can't just manifest that from, people, they're making these wishful boards, putting it on the wall with images and pictures of things and all these things. And like, it's not a mental process.
No, it's not.
No, it's beautiful.
Yes.
So this healing, this transformation can be instant. It is beyond time, so it's timeless. So meaning
Yes.
it can happen with the speed of
It
thought
can.
and feeling.
It can. The depth of feeling that's happened for me, since this is been so heightened and so quickened. And I still feel like there's a few more pieces that are coming, and every day, it's like
There's always more.
Oh, there's a piece, but the potential of what we have. And we spoke a little bit yesterday about the cells, what I'm understanding about.
Yeah, could you go into that, please, what you saw?
This was so amazing to me because of my husband, he's this taken me so much into the human body.
Yeah.
And when he works on the brain, he's really mastered, concussions and he knows on the brain is torsion, emotional. He just knows how to fix it.
Yeah. He
By
can
touching it.
He see with his hands inside your body.
Yes, he can. He can feel the torsions of your cerebellum and unwind it.
Yeah.
And he can see what emotion was there. And he can see, the past, perhaps the lineage, whatever that is. He can see a lot. So he helped me to understand that we can, because everything is conscious, my consciousness can enter into a single cell. And I started to look at the cell. And for years, I've done little exercises. Like one piece is that when we breathe, that we're not, usually people say when we're breathing,
yeah,
right? This is the human breath, the lungs and this, whatever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I realized that the air that comes to us has been on this long journey circulating the earth. And it comes in through our breath. And it comes into our lungs and through into our blood and into our capillaries, and it streams into the interstitial fluid where all our cells are living. And it can breathe. You can feel the membrane if you choose like a single cell, and you just know you can do this is the key. And you can imagine your cell, the membrane, the quality of the membrane is important to be able to relax and expand and breathe fully and exhale, or it can be tight and the breath of the cell is inhibited. So when we see this and we can open the breath of our cells, it's inhaling oxygen, it's exhaling carbon dioxide, it's being pulled into the venous capillaries through the venous system and back, and we give it back to the atmosphere, and the trees breathe in the carbon dioxide and give us back the oxygen. And then there's this whole circulation. So what's happening is the consciousness of the air is circulating through our bodies, giving our cells life.
Yeah.
And then I could see that the waters in the same way. The waters of the earth circulate through the whole planet, and they're alive, and the molecules are holding all this memory and energy and life, and we drink the waters and they go in again into the interstitial fluid, and we drink the mother's fluid through our cells, and she flows, and then we pee and we return it. And then I started to look at, my goodness, it's just not air and water, but Swedenborg, Bruno, in one of his classes, he teaches about Swedenborg's work about how the soul essence, to me, I see it as a gentle rain that comes into our brains. And some of that is absorbed into the ventricles. And I see the ventricles as they open, it's like a breath of the soul. This is how I see it. I'm
Yeah.
not a scientist, so I don't care. So I see this breath and taking this essence of soul in, and it comes down through all the way down with Monroe to the third ventricle, which is so powerful. The aqueductus sylvius, fourth ventricle, down through the brainstem, down into the spinal cord, and out through the nerve roots.
And the fascia?
That's next.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, let me do this. So the soul essence is now also in the fluid, the interstitial fluid of our bodies, and our cells absorb the soul essence.
Yeah.
So that every cell in our body can be connected to the cell light.
Okay, so the soul essence is the nervous system you're talking about?
I would just say that light that came into me is very connected to the soul essence, that it comes into our bodies, and if we're anchored, it comes into our cells.
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist,
No.
but I feel it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I feel this too.
Yeah. So I was going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then the fascia, Josh, the fascia, oh my gosh, I saw a video on the fascia, and it's like this intricate, gentle, but strong network that connects into every fiber, every muscle, every part of our bodies, and it connects into this little strand that connects into every cell. And when I'm feeling into the fascia, I could just feel like if you listen to a sound with your fascia, you can feel your fascia listening. If you have a low tone, it changes. It's like, oh, it's a low tone.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a negative thought, there's a contraction.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a feeling of love, there's expansion. And everything is flowing, and it's like this, the information is flowing to the brain faster than the nervous system is sending messages, right? It's like, it's unbelievable.
They found light running through the fascia.
Yes.
Photons.
Yes. And this is what's so beautiful, is that we take in photons. It's streaming through our fascia, and it also enters into the cell, so that we have this connection, direct connection to the sun in every cell of our bodies. Yeah. And it's like, wow, I'm starting to look at the cell as a gateway, a cosmic gateway, where everything's interconnecting.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I could see, then I started to be so in appreciation of this meeting, this place of meeting, of all these levels of creation. And I went inside the cell, and I could feel, like Bruno's always saying, yeah, a cell, is the structure, the inner structure is so complicated and so deep and profound and intelligent. There's 100,000 biological functions per second.
Yeah.
And going, wow, what kind of structure is it that can do that?
Yeah.
And I started so appreciating that inner structure. But then I went into the electrons and the protons, because that's even deeper. And all of a sudden, I found myself connected into this micro universe that we all exist in. And I was just so blown away at feeling and knowing that this is a part of our reality. Yet, this is mind-blowing. If you feel this along with me, Josh, and everybody else, if you feel that inner wisdom, that intelligence inside of your cell, it knows how to be a cell. Every function knows how to perform and to be in relationship with every single part of that cell. And yet, can you feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then if you go deeper, if you start going, ask to be shown to go into the electrons and the protons, all of a sudden you slip into another dimension. And this is so incredible because it's so holy. It is so holy. And somehow I felt like, oh my gosh, this must be where we connect into the body of God, where there's this incredible continuum.
Is where all the intelligence is pouring in.
Yes, right there. And this is the access point of all of that into our cell. And what was amazing to me, if you feel that inner consciousness, that of the cell, and that holiness, the connection to the body of God, those two parts don't know each other. Can you feel it's like the physical structure is not aware. We have not held the space for it to be at one in that continuum.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask the consciousness of the inner structure, the cell, to open, and to just open to that space where the infinite becomes finite. And just feel that opening, that twilight where dawn becomes day and day becomes dawn, or night becomes night. You just said in that place. Just that place. In between.
Yeah, the in-between place.
Light and dark. And open, be in the consciousness of the inner structure of the cell. And just look and open. And let it know that this is a part of its true reality. That it is a part of the continuum of all that is. And when our cells start to understand its own God nature, something happens. And if we open to every cell to be aware of this and to feel this, we're a part of the continuum with no beginning and no end. Life is flowing through us. And every cell is a cosmic galactic meeting point. And this is our power. This is something to be embraced. To really understand our holiness.
We are human beings, not human doings.
Yes.
And just by being that, we're tapping into that, just by being.
Isn't it beautiful?
That divine essence is from the unmanifest to the manifest, coming into being. We are being, we're going into form. Form is created. It's beautiful. Mm. And so how can we not be perfect? How is it possible to not be perfect?
Well, we could have one thought.
That you believe in.
Yes.
So identity.
Yes. Yes.
As soon as we believe we are real, identity takes a hold and it creates its own life.
Right. And we're out of the continuum.
Yeah. Then you become a human doing instead of a human being.
Yes, trying to do well enough so that we can be loved.
Yes. Chasing what's already there.
Yes. So if I could share that, oh my goodness, that one time in meditation when I heard that one thought, I heard, there is one thought that is the source of all disease. Now, I don't know what the voice is. Maybe my soul, I don't know, but it got my attention.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for the answer, and it said, the one thought is, I am not loved.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take down all of humanity with one thought, I am not loved.
Yeah.
And so it was.
And so it was. I fully agree with that. I think all disease is based on
Yes,
that.
everything.
Everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I could see that from that one thought, it feeds out. And then you have, God doesn't love me, I've been abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If my parents do this to me, or God's not there, I can't trust.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is important, because if we lose our trust,
Yeah.
then who do we look to define us?
Ah,
Right?
Mr. COVID-19 propaganda.
Yes, yes. Who do we listen to tell us who we are and
The
what we need to
TV,
do?
the internet,
Yes.
the mass media. Anybody else but ourselves.
Yes, anybody.
Anybody else but ourselves.
Yes,
We refuse to look where we're supposed to because we don't trust it.
right. So important, trust.
This is the only reason a human being can be confused. So if we are confused because of all the information out there, just know that you don't have to be. You can just step back, straight back in, and the confusion is gone. There's nothing to worry about, nothing to be confused about. Okay, so a lot of people have been writing some stuff. I think it's time let me see, there's a lot of stuff. Okay, so okay, Cheryl is asking, how did you release your trauma?
Oh, well, um, I definitely have created protocols and ways that are so simple, guided by the heart, to the steps are, I'll just briefly say them, that if you have a thought that something happened to you as a child, you were beat up, or you weren't loved, or you weren't respected, this trauma is still in our tissue if it's unresolved. And I start with the body, because we hold this trauma, say, of deep despair, and I give it a shape and a color and a depth and a frequency. And we can see that this unresolved trauma and emotion is in our body, holding a frequency which changes, takes us out of our pure body design, and it's torqued and creating a dissonance which matches the trauma that holds us to the trauma. And once I have everyone give this the shape of this and this consciousness, eyes, and we start to dialogue with it. And when we start to dialogue with it, we realize that it is the voice and the feelings of a little boy or girl, our inner child. So this takes us right to the trauma that we need to go to heal that trauma. And what I've realized for years I've understood that the story was not important. What was important is how we felt. How we felt.
That's very key. That's super key. The story is not important, but how you felt matters.
Yes, because in that feeling, we change. And we make a decision. I am not loved. I'm not good enough. I can't trust.
Yeah.
I'm abandoned, whatever that decision is. And then we have to give up a part of ourselves, right? In order to sustain that belief. So then we start to live our lives on this track. And we're still holding it until we stop and work with it.
Yeah.
So what we do is that we look at who is engaged or who's involved in this trauma. And it's usually our mothers and our fathers. And what we do is we bring them in and we see how the child feels, and we see the judgment that the child has against the parent. Now, this is so important too, because judgment is so powerful. We were looking at judgment the other day, playing with that. And if you have a judgment, I resent you because you're bad and you're dark and you did mean things to me, right? If you feel something like that, it's like you can feel your whole body also shift into the posture of judgment.
Yeah.
And when you go into those spaces, you lose all your sensitivity, you lose your flow, and it locks you into place. And when you're judging someone else, now we know that this is the unrecognized judgment against ourselves. Somehow we hold that, and the judgment gives us some kind of power, right? This is the one thing that we can hold over somebody else, a negative image.
There is a sense of safety
Yes,
in it,
yes,
and also elevation in the sense of you feel better than whatever it is that you're judging. Very interesting.
yes. And that's that false posture.
I'm strong. I'm never going to forgive them. I'm going to just draw the line,
Yeah.
and nobody will ever do that to me again.
Yeah.
And this is you lose. How much do you lose?
You will lose a big part of yourself, but also what I noticed is, people think so for some reason the subconscious thinks that this is the easiest thing to do.
Yes.
To just judge.
Yes.
When in reality it's the most energy intensive, cost ineffective approach, because it's going to drain your energy for so many years to come. It's going to just bog you down.
Right. You're not in your true form.
No, so you're not relaxed, at ease, and expanded.
No.
Effortlessness is the heart, right?
Yes.
And so all the other stuff is just a lot of effort.
Yes. Yes.
No wonder people are tired, right?
Yes. And it's painful to hold those false postures.
It's hard work.
Yes. And when our fluid is not flowing, we dry up and die.
Yeah, and have to deal with all kinds of consequences from that.
Yes.
So just so people, so are you doing one-on-one sessions?
I'm doing one-on-one sessions, and I'm doing workshops.
You're doing workshops as well?
Yes.
Okay, online workshops. So what is your website?
My website is the chiklyhealthinstitute.com.
Okay, can you spell Chikly?
Yes, CHIKLY Health Institute.
Okay.
.com.
chiklyhealthinstitute.com. And we're gonna post a link here with the next, when we send out the replay of this to you. I'm gonna post a link to this.
Okay.
So people can sign up and meet you one-on-one, or join your live group session.
Yes.
Healing. Those are how many days and for how long time are the sessions?
They're 3 days.
Yeah.
And because I can't do more than 3 days online.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it's amazing because we all know that we can connect online.
Yes.
I thought my life is over. I'm never going to teach again.
Yeah.
But boy, we got online and we are so present with each other.
Oh, that's good.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So it's totally working.
Yes, it's totally working.
Well, it's totally working here also. We're doing
Yes.
breath work and meditation together, and I can definitely,
Yes.
like when I sit and do it myself alone,
Uh-huh.
contrary, if I do it with this group here, I can feel a massive difference.
Yes.
It's just amazing. So the
Yes,
group,
I know.
the
We
group
hold each
energy is
other.
real.
Yes.
It's real. Okay. Steve says, in the USA, are there others that also do the healing? ? Can we do this therapy on our own if we cannot do it in person in a session with you?
You might need a little bit of guidance.
Yeah.
But if you feel you can, you can. Absolutely.
I mean, I would say use the pointers you heard here today to try yourself. And if it doesn't
Yes.
work out, connect with you.
Yes.
Yeah. You've done it for how many years?
Oh, 25.
So you know what you're doing. Okay.
Oh, I have a lot of experience.
She knows what-
Oh my goodness, I love it.
And by the way, we did 2 sessions with me, on me, and I loved it. It's totally awesome. Every time we're finished with a session, I always have this very light, happy feeling, and I actually turn into a child. I just start teasing everybody and stuff like that, and have fun, make jokes, and play around. It's really, I feel lighter.
Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Claudia says, where does common sense fall? These days, common sense has gone away.
Where does common sense
Fall? These days, common sense has gone away. So I guess what happened to common sense these days in the world?
It's interesting because in common sense is the word senses, right?
Yeah,
Sense.
yeah.
And if we don't have our senses open, how can we have common sense? How can we be understanding, be open to even make a good decision?
Yeah.
We need our senses.
Senses.
You know what I realized?
So where has it gone? How come we don't have it anymore on Earth? What happened?
Because we don't believe in ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we believe that we're not loved. We believe
we lost that connection.
We lost our connection.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just we are not connected anymore.
So we lost common sense because we're not connected anymore. Basically, that's it.
Yes.
I fully agree. I always told people, the solution to all the world's problems is awakening. The moment you're awakened or enlightened, or you're in your heart, or you are connected, whatever word we want to call it, all the world's problems are solved. You're not going to cut down the rainforest. You're not going to hurt other people. You're not going to pollute the oceans. I mean, if you feel one with everything, why would you do that? It's kind of like me taking a hammer and sitting hammering on my big toe for some reason. I wouldn't do that because it's part of me.
That's right.
So once you have the feeling of unity consciousness,
Yes.
then you can't see yourself hurting another aspect of yourself somewhere else.
Yes.
So you always want to do the win-win. So the solution to the world's problems is in consciousness. Nancy says,
love.
Yeah, love. Nancy says, I think she's saying name of therapy, and does she teach it? So
it's called heart-centered therapy.
Heart-centered therapy.
That's what I call my therapy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'd like to call it heart-centered transformation now.
Carol just says, yes, that is what I was waiting for regarding what we're doing right now.
Great.
Claudia says, conquer the mind and leave it behind. No longer the driver, but the passenger. Thanks, Alaya. It wasn't a question. It was more like a statement. You. Sheila says, mind is the servant. So please write only questions with big letters, only questions. So Carol says, and I hunger for more, still can't get those tears. At some point in my life, I stopped being able to cry.
Yes.
So Carol is not able to cry. Carol, I suggest you hook up with her. Let's do something about that. So there's a lot of talk here. They're talking to each other here. Carol is asking, would you explain fascia?
Where's Bruno when I need him?
Yeah.
Fascia is that interconnective tissue that's within our bodies that is very watery and full of light, and it connects to every bone, every muscle, every organ, and into every cell of our body. So it's a communication of light that is, I would say, it's like our internet, our own personal internet that connects us to the sun, and I'm sure to the stars. And it's very, very important. And it's more than just a connective material in our body. It is a connective.
Yeah. It's the internet highway matrix system in your body.
Yes.
Also, when you look at a muscle, you can see this little white thing sitting on the surface of the muscle. That's also fascia.
Yes,
but
also.
that also is around your organs and in between your organs. There's some crazy video footage on YouTube where you can actually see
microscopic
fascia where they're open, and you can see how it's moving by itself,
Yes.
and it creates new threads and lines, and it's just, when I saw it, I'm just like, what?
It changes your world, doesn't
Like,
it?
it's just
It's
like,
like, this is going on
this
inside
is
of us.
crazy, and light is moving through,
Yes.
like light photons. So this is, we are right now on the internet with fiber optic system right now.
Yes.
This is exactly the same.
Yes.
It's a fiber optic internet highway system of cosmic information downloaded from the
Yes.
cosmos and the sun.
Right.
That's what it is. So fascia is pretty powerful. And her husband is working with fascia. He's just, so he had his hands on me, and he's doing, it's weird too. I can't even explain what he's doing, but he's just putting his hands, and he just does just a little movement, and then suddenly so stuff happens in the whole body. And the funny thing is, you can sit in one area of the body and do something, and then suddenly I feel changes in a complete different area of the body. And so the interconnectedness is just
It's beautiful.
it's just, life is a mystery.
Yes.
Like everything, no matter what you look at, if you go deep enough, you're going to end up in awe. No matter what, you're going to end up in awe. Just like, what? It's like, and we are it. That's the crazy part. It's not even like we're separate from it watching it. No, we're it. This is the miracle. We are the miracle. We are the miracle. Like what we're doing right now is completely crazy.
Yes.
Just sitting here talking. That is so wild that is going on. Okay. Let me see. So chiklyinstitute.com and Chikly on Facebook, Chikly Health Institute. So the links are there. So if you want to connect, the links are already in the chat now with the Chikly Institute, etc. So it's there. Okay, so there's no more questions. It's just a lot of people talking with each other here.
Great.
So how long time have we been going on?
It's 11:23.
11:23. Okay. So there's a Karen, she's studying with Jean-Pierre Barral for 27 years and met Bruno 25 years ago through the Upledger Institute.
That's right.
Great
Hi.
to know you are living. Great to know you're living close to Joshua.
Oh, we're
So
grateful too.
Karen Barker, she is a massage therapist and actor and super heart-based. She's just like, she's amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice to feel you.
Yeah. So Steve says the heart flow course, I made a course called the heart flow course. The heart flow course and the here center therapy, the heart center therapy, I think. These two, one of the same, both approach the heart in similar fashion. No, my approach is, I'm more about the yogic stuff, like breathwork, meditation, and then the knowledge. So she's much more going in and looking at your story and then transcending it, etc. So it's a different approach.
Yes.
And it all is, for me, all of it is valid.
Yes.
It's all,
we need every part of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I would say also,
See, we are dependent on each other to make this happen. The male and the female and all of us together.
Exactly.
Each part is important.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
In our
And also I would say, I met people who have extreme response to certain modalities, healing modalities, and others modalities nothing, and vice versa. And it really depends on your. It depends on so many things, like your situation, the time in your life when you're introduced to it, how you feel, the approach. Also, are you more mentally oriented, or are you more physically oriented, or heart-based, or are you more like there's so many approaches to this. So I think it's all valid. If it works, great, that's it. Then I have no squirrel with
Yes,
anything.
yes.
As long as it works, then it's fine. It's all good. But my heart flow course is different. Louisa says, I have experienced the type of healing work Bruno does. Is he helping you with your sciatic pain? So he has done treatments with my sciatic nerve pain, and it went from 100% down to 30% after the first treatment. But then it stayed like that. We cannot get rid of the rest yet. Yet. We've done three sessions, and I'm still having a 30% pain level. I think he's going to do another session on me tomorrow.
Great.
I think he said that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I want to be there.
Yes. Okay. And so we will see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But actually, he just said in the dojo, he said, Joshua, I just think you need to lose some weight. And I started laughing. And I said, yeah, I think you're right. You know, truth can be very direct sometimes. That's what I love about Bruno. So that's it, basically.
Great.
So did you guys enjoy this? Did you get something out of this session here? How many enjoyed this? Takes a little time. There we go, look.
Thank you.
So all these people are enjoying it. And Carol says triple thank you. Yes. So awesome. They keep on writing. That's awesome. I think you really hit the spot. So have you noticed that it doesn't matter who I bring here as a guest speaker, they all end up in their life journey with the same conclusions. They end up realizing the only thing that matters is the heart. Isn't it? I think it's because I had quite a few speakers here, and every single person, even you remember Harold Kautz, he's been through deep, dark, satanic, child sacrificing, blood, crazy stuff, this guy, like super, and he's now totally done with this whole thing, and he's all about the heart, and he's all about healing the trauma of the heart and just doing the heart, everything heart. It's just heart.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And then we have Robert Powell, academic, intellectual, reading thousands of books, knows everything about everything, like crazy stuff. And he's like, it's all about the heart. It's all about the heart. It's all about the heart. So all this is all about the heart, right? So it's just all about the heart. Yes. And who else? I've had so many people here, but it's all the same. Every single conscious life journey cosmonaut of life that I meet, they all end up with the same conclusion. It's all about the heart. And the only thing you need to do, heal your traumas so you can stay in your heart. Right. And that's the transformation we all need to see, and that is going to change the world.
Yes. And
it begins with you. It's that simple.
It is simple.
And
it is simple.
And all you need to do is to find your way, what resonates with you. I highly recommend you to connect with her and jump on board on either one-on-one or in the group sessions. Do you have to talk openly with everybody about your issues and stories?
No, it's not at all. What I do is I teach how to do the process in the morning, and then in the afternoons we have everybody's with partners, and we have breakout rooms so that they can go into a breakout room and practice. And I come into the rooms and I have helpers that will also be assigned to their room to help them to get through it so they don't get stuck.
Okay.
So it's
so,
really,
so your private issues will remain private.
Absolutely.
It's only you
Yes.
and the person.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not a whole group thing.
No, you do not have to share your things with other people. It's not important.
Okay, perfect. So anybody who was hesitant with this because of that?
Yes, that's not the case.
That's not the case.
Right.
It's safe.
It is very safe.
It's safe,
It's safe.
and there's nothing to lose, except maybe I have a saying: full satisfaction or ego returned. Isn't it good? We have 100% satisfaction guarantee or ego returned. You can get it back, no problem. So that's the business model. Okay, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. And thank you, all of you out there. I want to be able to see your faces, but I could still feel you. So this is good.
Lynn is saying, Josh, you're bringing us into our hearts in so many ways, through many people, yourself included. Thank you, Lynn.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And Steve says, Junvalo mentions there is a tiny place within the heart. He says that doctors have found during surgery to never touch the spot. If it gets touched, the patient dies instantly. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
So heart surgeons, so there is actually, so you have 4 chambers in the heart, and in between all 4 chambers is a little spot in there. And heart surgeons can operate hearts and all that stuff, but and they can open the heart and cut and do all these things, but they know if they take even with a rubber glove and they just touch that spot, the person dies instantly, like this, because the soul leaves, because this is where the soul is seated. That's the seat of the soul. You press that, boom, it goes, and the body's dead.
Guess what I'm going to do tomorrow on my meditation.
Well, we are doing meditations here, and there's a specific, it's quite easy way to go down into the heart.
Wow, beautiful.
So if you imagine the microphone here is your heart.
Yes.
And so your throat will be here, right?
Yes.
And your head will be here.
Yes.
You actually just sink down, and then you can go behind the heart and look from the backside into the heart, and you will see a small crevice.
Okay.
And you just glide in there and move in there, and you will find there's a little cave or room or whatever, and that's your sacred space of your heart. Inside your sacred space of your heart, there's a tiny space of your heart. If you enter there, things are getting quite serious. You can actually move into other dimensions and universes. You can move into a different universe. This universe is a male universe. It has its counterpart, the feminine universe, and you can actually move into it through that. Junvalo's teaching all that stuff.
Let's do it.
Not
now, but
not right now.
No.
We're gonna wait. But yeah. So that's
great. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Play around with that.
Yes, I will.
You come back and tell me what you find.
Yes.
Maybe you just dissolve in front of me and just disappear and go as totally ascend. So,
I don't think so.
But if you do, come back and tell me how you did it.
I will.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
great.
Your time.
Thank you,
For your
Josh.
time.
Thank you.
Awesome.